when I talk about planning presentations, I use a GPS approach, and it refers back to the device or the software that we pretty much all used, a GPS, in our vehicles, on our mobile devices, wherever it is. And how does a GPS work? Well, what a GPS does, the first thing it does is it asks you, where are you going? What is your destination? And you have to be clear about that destination, where you're going. Once you put that in, the next thing it does is it searches satellites, bing, it gives you the blue dot where you are right now. So once it knows where you're going, where you are right now, it then sifts through the literally millions of different options it has, and it tells you the best route to get from where you are to where you want to go. The best route. Not every route, the best route. Well, I think this is a great approach that we can use to plan the content of our presentations. See, when we apply it to a presentation, I think the first thing we need to do is determine the goal of the presentation. Why are we doing this presentation? The way I like to state it is a phrase that says, at the end of the presentation, the audience will blank. What will they know? What will they do? Will they understand? Will they agree to? What will they approve? At the end of the presentation, the audience will blank. And whenever I look at a goal of a presentation, one of the things that I do is I apply two tests to it. Test number one, is it specific? Meaning, can I measure it? If you cannot measure that you have reached the goal of your presentation, I would suggest it's going to be very hard to get to that destination. I mean, you think about it, if I wanted to get to this office today, and I simply put into the GPS Arlington, Virginia, would I get here? No, it's not specific enough. A GPS needs street number, street name, city, state, zip code, if you got it. In our presentations, we need to have that goal specific. Second test, is it realistic? Can we actually achieve it in the time that we have, the people that we have in the room, and the context or situation that we have? For example, if you're going to the board and you're asking them to make an approval of a proposal, but you don't have the right people in the room to actually sign on the dotted line, it's not a realistic goal. You can't achieve it. Sometimes we want to achieve way more than what we have in terms of time. Again, not realistic. And again, it's similar to a GPS. I mean, a GPS device, if you put in an address that does not actually exist, it won't get you there because it knows it's not a real address. So the first thing in our presentation is to determine what our goal is. Then, like the GPS figuring out where are you now, the next step is to evaluate the present situation. Two parts here. First of all, the audience. Who are they? What is their knowledge level? Where are they coming from? What is their background? And then the logistics. How is this presentation going to be done? Some of you work with boards where you meet together all the time. Others of you have boards where they might be geographically distributed and you meet via web meeting. Those are two very different contexts. And there are certain things that won't work on a web presentation that work in a live presentation. So we need to be very careful about understanding logistics as well as the audience. Once we know these two, we know where we are, where the audience is now, where we want to take them at the end of the presentation. Then we can figure out what are the steps, the best way to move that audience from where they are to where we want them to be at the end. And I break down the planning of our presentation, the actual content, into three levels. First, it starts with topics. Topics are that highest level of the presentation, usually 3 to 5 items. This gives us essentially the agenda for the discussion, for the presentation. We then take and we break that down into the specific points we want to make, and then the supporting information to prove or support those points.